Countdown to kickoff. Let's head out to Jacksonville, Florida with Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union. Let's talk about the star of the franchise for a bit. Maurice Jones-Drew, coming off arthroscopic knee surgery, has said that he's fourth on the depth chart. He's being hard on himself. But is he at or near 100%?
I would say, if I had to, I'd say probably near 100%. He had 5 carries in last night's 24-17 preseason loss to the Rams, which was the last preseason game here. He had a nice run on a 14-yard burst, but I still question whether he still has the same burst that he would really like to have. And again, this is evidence on only one run, and it was just such a small morsel of a sample to judge him on. But I don't think we're going to get a very accurate reading until you actually see him, pound it 22, 23 times over a 60-minute period. He says he's fine, but I never trust injury reports by players or coaches in the NFL.
So the quarterback situation, Blaine Gabbert, David Garrard. Firstly, who is expected to start the season?
David Garrard will definitely start the season opener against the Tennessee Titans. In fact, Jack Del Rio has already spilled the beans inadvertently that Blaine Gabbert may be number 3 to open the season against the Tennessee Titans. Cal, another veteran who's been here, has basically in the preseason outperformed both David and Blaine. But when I say outperformed, I mean he's had more production, but he's also been playing more with the second teamers than the other guys have. So again, this stuff is so difficult to judge when you've got different offensive linemen in there, and part of the first team is in there, and then it's the second team, and then you're one preseason game, Gabbert gets time with the ones, and then the next one, it's Luke McCown that gets time with the ones. And so it's the differences between all 3 of the quarterbacks right now, to be quite honest with you, is pretty negligible if you're just watching them. But obviously, David's got a much bigger familiarity with the offense than Blaine does, and I think they would feel like it might be unfair.
So, Gene, who do
Gabbert to go out there and start right now?
Who do the fans want to see then starting? Do they want to see Gabbert?
There's no question that the David Garrard fatigue has set in here, and they would much. Yeah, I think most fans, not by a huge large majority, but I would think if you took a poll, they always want to see the first round draft pick out there. I mean, it's just the nature of fans, and but the coaches are in the business of winning games, and so you've got to do what they have to do what's best for them to try to win games now. But it's pretty obvious that Blaine Gabbert is the future, and I'd be highly surprised if at some point this season he's not starting.
Now, this team was near the bottom of the league in tackles last year, made a big signing in Paul Posluszny. How much does he improve this defense?
I don't know how much he's going to improve the pass defense. I don't think he's going to be much of a factor there, but I do believe he's going to be a significant upgrade to help the run defense, because Kirk Morrison was a really, really nice guy, and I know he's a California guy. He's with the Bills now, but Paul Posluszny is a much faster linebacker than Kirk Morrison is. And I also believe he delivers a little bit more pop and power as well. So I think he's going to solidify the middle linebacker position well for them, particularly against the run. Now, against the pass, that might be a different story. Paul's a little shaky in coverage at times, and so they might very well, I think they're going to try to have him be an every down linebacker, but whether he's able to do that, well, time will judge that out, because you can't have a linebacker in the game if he's too suspect in pass coverage.
Let's head out to our Facebook page, facebook.com/TYT Sports. A couple questions for you from the fans. Samuel Layden asks you, will the O-line be able to let MJD dominate?
Well, that's a good question. I can tell you one thing. The O-line did not allow David Garrard to operate last night at all. He was 1 for 5 for 11 yards, and on six times he dropped back to pass, and he got hit pretty hard 4 of those times. The offensive line right now, particularly in pass protection, is a little bit looks a little bit shaky right now. But keep in mind, Evan Britton has missed most of the preseason with a back problem. He had a little procedure done on a disc, and he has not practiced at full go. They hope to have him back next week in time for the season opener. If not, Guy Wimper will be the starting right tackle. And also keep in mind, offensive lines usually take the longest time to gel. And when you have a season where you didn't have any OTAs or anything like that, I think a lot of offensive lines are going to be exposed here in the early part of the NFL season. I don't think the Jaguars are any exception to that rule.
Scott Jenner asks you, will the Jaguars be the team to move to Los Angeles?
Very, very, very unlikely. I know that their name gets thrown out there a lot, but two things are working against L.A. Number one, we're going to wait till you get the shovel into the ground first. And number two, the owner here, Wayne Weaver, is not going to move the Jaguars on his watch. It's just not going to happen. And when I say not going to happen, I mean 0% chance. Wayne Weaver is 76 years old. Most of his emotional ties and friendships are all with people who live here now. So the last thing he wants on his legacy is that the team that he brought here and felt so strongly about with so much passion that he's going to pack up and move them. Now, does that mean that he couldn't sell the team eventually and then have the new owner move them? That's probably a little bit more realistic scenario. But I think by the time that something like that happens, presumably Los Angeles will already have a team. So I think that LA's going to have a better chance to get a team from San Diego, Minnesota, St. Louis, or Oakland than they do Jacksonville. And you can mark that down.
Last question for you. Over under, we do this with every guest we have on. Over under 6 wins this year for Jacksonville.
Definitely over. I mean, I'm not trying to look at things through black and teal glasses here. Just look at the facts. The facts are this was an 8-8 team a year ago. They've added 4 new starters on to a horrific defense, plus a nickel back in Drew Coleman. Now the schedule might be you might perceive the schedule as being a little bit tougher because they face more elite quarterbacks. But it's hard for me to imagine that this team will at least be 8-8 again and maybe 9-7, 10-6.